Okay, welcome everybody to Adulting 101, How to Find a Summer Job, which is being presented by Job Skills today. So before we begin, we would like to acknowledge that Brampton Library is located on the treaty territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, and before them, the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee, Huron, and Wendat. We also acknowledge the many First Nations, Métis, Inuit, and other global Indigenous people that now call Brampton their home. We are honored to live, work, and enjoy this land. So my name is Megan Gilpin. My pronouns are she and her, and I'm a diversity and adult services librarian with Brampton Library. For those of you who are joining us on Facebook Live today, if you would like to ask any questions for Deanna, who will be presenting from Job Skills, you can just go ahead and put it in the Facebook comments, and I will be sure to ask her when she's taking questions. Those of you who are joining us right on Zoom, you can just put it right in the chat box. And again, once we break for questions, or if it's something that's really applicable in that moment, I'll be sure to ask it on your behalf. A few library announcements before I hand it over. So we are still offering just curbside pickup for all of our services right now. Hopefully we should be starting in-branch services soon, but I really don't have any information about that at this time. But some exciting things that are going on. So this is our May edition of Adulting 101. And next month for Adulting 101, our June session on June 23rd, I believe it is How to Camp Like a Pro with Parks Canada Learn to Camp. So we're really looking forward to that. That'll be great going into the summer months. And speaking of summer, we are also launching all of our summer clubs on Tuesday, this coming Tuesday, June 1st. So that's the Brampton Brain Game for kids. We've got the Teen Summer Reading Club, that's for teens. And then for 19 plus, we have the Adult Summer Reading Club. So this is a fun way to engage with your summer reading. You can log books, write reviews, engage with online activities, as well as we have lots of self-guided tours and self-guided activities at local parks and throughout the city. So you can get out and about in a safe way throughout the summer. And for a lot of these challenges and for logging your books, there's chances to win great bi-weekly prizes and grand prizes at the end of the summer. So it's just a really something fun that we do every year. And this is our second year being virtual. So we're really looking forward to having an opportunity to build upon what we did last year and be a little more innovative. So just go to our website, bramptonlibrary.ca, if you want to join any of that. So now I would like to introduce Deanna Joyce from Job Skills. So Deanna is a Toronto area native, tropical plant lover, and cat enthusiast. She loves to write and design curriculum for learners of all ages. She has extensive experience training diverse groups of people and continues to seek out exciting opportunities, with her most recent adventure managing online service delivery at Job Skills. Deanna is grateful for the opportunity to participate in the learning journeys of her students and colleagues. She is happy to be here today to share how you can kickstart your summer job search as part of our Adulting 101 series. So without further ado, I will be happy to pass it over to Deanna.
Thank you so much, Megan, for your warm welcome. And I appreciate you having me here and inviting me once again to present this exciting topic. This is a really timely workshop, and I'm hoping that you get as much out of it as I think you will. So I'm going to get right into it because we do have a lot of information to get through. So I'm just going to actually turn my camera off here, and hopefully you can still see me okay. So this is our agenda. As you can see, it's pretty jam-packed with all sorts of really amazing information. I'm going to start off with a bit of an introduction when it comes to job skills, who we are, what we do, and then I'll get right into talking about job search strategies. We'll look at job search tools, how you can brand yourself effectively in a variety of different ways, which we'll go into. And we'll talk about, as you can see, resume cover letter. We'll look at the elevator pitch, talk about the hidden job market, what that is, some interview skills and tips, and then we'll get right into next steps, okay? And as well as providing you with some additional resources to take with you. And of course, I will pass on the contact information, how you can stay connected with job skills. So I'm going to skip over this piece because Megan did speak to some of the most important pieces. I just do want to highlight one little spot here when it comes to the chat. This session is very interactive. I will be asking questions, and I hope that you'll feel comfortable enough to engage and share some of your experience. Where needed, I'll of course fill in the blank, but we will be using the chat feature a lot. I'll be asking questions and ask for responses in that box. So I will try to keep my eyes open as I ask away. And if I miss anything, I know Megan will be and ensure that your question does get answered. So the objective of this particular workshop, there are a few. First, we want to understand what are some of these job search tools and best practices. We're going to be discussing the right marketing tools for you, okay, how to brand yourself effectively when going out into the world of work. Also looking a little bit at who's hiring and understanding that process, how it works from an employer's perspective, which I believe will give you some insight to and what you can do. And then from there, we'll talk about next steps. Okay. And so that here we have creating an action plan, but really it's just discovering and creating some goals for yourself that will be beneficial to you moving forward. So just a bit of an overview about job skills in the next few slides, as well as our welcome center. So Job Skills is a nonprofit community-based organization. We provide training to job seekers as well as employers, as well as other employment pieces. We've been around for over 30 years, since 1988, and we began our organization up in Keswick. So we like to believe that we are experts in our field. We do love working with our community members to, of course, meet our mission statement, which is, of course, to connect job seekers with employers to create a more vibrant community. As I mentioned earlier, we work with job seekers as well as employers. We have over 20 programs and services to assist individualized groups, okay, and specialized groups with their job searching. So we can really assist you. We meet you where you're at when it comes to your job search activities, and we help support you with developing goals and strategies that are going to help you find a job. We do also, as I mentioned, work with employers to provide them recruitment supports, job fairs, hiring incentives, things of that nature. If you were with us last month, the start of this month, we actually partnered with Brampton Public Library for a hiring event. So we work with community partners such as the Brampton Public Library to bring some of these really amazing events to you and help make those connections happen. We are funded through various sources, some of them being federal, provincial, and municipal governments, as well as community agencies that are supporting some of these amazing initiatives, such as the Ontario Trillium Foundation, the Greater Toronto Airports Authority, and United Way of Greater Toronto. The Welcome Center is another part of job skills that's really important. The Welcome Center Immigrant Services system is a network of 5 centers in York Region. Okay, these are one-stop shops where newcomers to Canada can access a variety of different programs and services under one roof. So it makes it really easy for people to get the information that they need, especially when they're first coming to Canada and getting acclimated. Job Skills is responsible for providing employment services at 5 welcome centers in York Region. So we provide services such as settlement and integration services, as I mentioned, things like English language classes, interpretation services, as well as a variety of other things based on our clients' needs. So that's just a little bit about Job Skills and the Welcome Center. Hopefully that resonates with you. I will be providing some more contact details at the end. But now that I've provided a bit of a summary of who Job Skills is as an organization, I'd like to now dive into the content of our session today. Okay, so I have a question for you, and please feel free to answer in the chat. We're going to talk now about some job search strategies, but I want you to answer this. Okay. I want you to think about what are some of the things that you've been doing, okay, that are your best job search habits. Okay. So of course this is geared to you if you in the assumption that you have been job searching, okay, and you're developing some good habits. What are some of the things that you've been doing to help you stay focused? And what are some of your best job search habits? So, one, what are you doing to help you stay focused? And then, what are some of your best job search habits? So, some examples might be maybe setting an alarm clock, okay, to wake up at a certain time in the morning. Okay. I remember when I worked, before I worked for Job Skills, I was actually unemployed for a little bit. And it was very tempting to sleep until 11 or 12. But what I did was I actually set an alarm clock to wake up at 9 o'clock, okay, which is still a bit of a sleep in. So yay me. But that being said, I did set an alarm clock so that I could start to build a routine. Okay, so that might be that's one example of a really good job search habit. Okay, do you have any ideas? If you can enter them into the chat, that would be great.
So I will say one job search habit when I was job hunting that I had was and I learned this the hard way, was to save the job postings, like keep a document because when the deadline is passed, they go away. And if you get called for an interview, you might need that information.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a really good point, Megan. So tracking the jobs that you're applying to, okay, and whatever system works for you, so that when you do get a call back, you know exactly what job or what employer is calling, okay, and what they're calling about, what position, okay, they're speaking to. So yeah, that's a really great one. Another one might be, creating a home office, okay, or just creating a nice space for you to do your job search activities. Okay, there are a variety of different things that we can do to help us, uh, be most effective in a job search. Okay, what are some things that you would like to stop or improve upon when it comes to your job search activities? Any ideas there? Yeah, see that you're looking for a job to work soon, and hopefully after today's session, you'll get some really helpful tips on, what to do next. Okay, but what are some things that often get in the way of your job search? So, what are some things that you'd like to stop or improve when it comes to job searching? One thing might be social media. Okay, so I love going on Instagram and checking out, all sorts of things. I love the photos, and seeing what people are up to. So, but for me, I know that it's a bit of a time waster. Okay, and if I was job searching, it would be a huge distraction. Okay, so I might want to stop doing that or limit my time. Okay, and that goes for all social media. So Facebook, Twitter, any of your favorite sites. Okay. Any other ideas? What might you stop? Okay. No.
I'm just kind of thinking of one myself, if you don't mind me jumping in, Deanna. Um, Sometimes I would find, especially when I was younger, like in high school, looking for jobs, I would get really overwhelmed with the job boards,
Mm-hmm.
that um, there were just so many job postings that, and maybe sometimes I would apply for jobs, not really sort of strategizing how to frame my resume and
Mm-hmm.
cover letter.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of, putting it all out there and hoping something sticks.
Yeah, that's something we see a lot. People just trying to sort of copy it or cut and paste parts of their lives when it comes to work experience that sometimes fit and sometimes don't. And when we get to talking about resumes here shortly, I'll share a few little tips here on how we can be more strategic when it comes to developing our resume as well as our cover letter, and how to really shine and stand out to the employer. Okay, so thank you so much for sharing that, Megan. I'm going to also, since we're on the topic of job search strategies, I want to just share some additional tips, some things to think about on some good habit building. Okay. So one thing that you might want to consider doing, and I would highly recommend, is that you create a routine. Okay. So you develop a time Okay, date, time, and place, and identify exactly what you're going to do. So as you mentioned, Megan, that strategy piece, okay, that really comes into play. So this routine does help when it comes to being more strategic. Okay, you're setting the time. You know that every day from 9 till 12 o'clock, you're going to be actively job searching. Okay. We also find that when people commit more time to their job search activities, so anywhere between 25 to 35 hours a week, they oftentimes are far more effective than those who dedicate less time. Okay, so you want to think of your job searching almost like a full-time job. Okay, so you're really committing that level of time to developing resumes, networking, um, attending events like this is really great. This is part of your job search as well. But you will notice that the more time you spend on your job searching, the more results you'll have. Okay, and whether the results are getting leads to new opportunities or making a new connection, those are all great things. Okay, when it comes to your job search, so any of those would be a bonus. Okay, you want to maximize those opportunities. As I mentioned earlier too, you do want to create a space that is quiet, that is a productive environment. So having an office, would be ideal, but not all of us have the space to have it's our own office. So it's maybe just um, setting up a nice space for yourself in the kitchen, on the kitchen table. Okay, something that you can put all of your branding materials out. You can have your computer there, and just again creating that space where that you have to be productive, and that when you're entering that space, and understand that it is for job searching. Okay. Another great tip here is to keep a calendar. So sort of going off of what Megan said earlier, and as well as the job search log, keeping a calendar, keeping notes of who you are speaking with, who you've sent resumes to, who are potential leads, maybe organizations or people that you want to connect with. These are all great to start jotting down and keeping track of. Okay, because they again will support you when you do get those phone calls from employers, asking you to come in for an interview. You can automatically and quickly make that connection there by just checking your notes. Okay. With job searching, at least I found personally, and I've heard it from a lot of others, that it's a bit of a roller coaster. Okay. When it comes to the emotional part, you wouldn't necessarily think that job searching would be such an emotional process, but it is quite emotional. Okay, there's lots of ups and downs. Sometimes we're hearing no's from employers, or sometimes we're really excited because we're going to a job interview. So those peaks and valleys are something that we obviously have to learn how to cope with and manage, and identify strategies that are going to help you stay positive throughout this process of job searching as well as being unemployed. So my question for you in the chat is, what are some things that you do to stay positive? For me, I love to go on nature walks. I like to get outside, go for a hike for a couple hours, just enjoy being outside. Okay. And that generally, when I'm done that, I feel much more positive. I feel energized for what's to come. And that just really helps me to have more of a positive outlook. What's something that works for you? If you could share in the chat, that would be fantastic. Okay, or on live, if you want to add in your thoughts, I think that's how it works. I think you can do that. But just think about what are some of the things that you do to stay positive, and please feel free to share them in the comments below. Okay, maybe you like to do yoga, okay, or maybe exercising is your way of staying positive and staying motivated. Perhaps it's talking to friends or family members about your experience. That helps to, again, uplift, if you're having a bad day, and also to encourage you when you're having those really great positive days. Okay, so it's about creating a bit of a network to help you stay as positive as possible during this time.
I was going to say that about friends and how important that is right now, especially because a lot of us are so disconnected. And yeah, for me too, like even when I'm I'm not necessarily uh even if we're not necessarily talking about the job search or whatever it is that's stressing you out, just to like have something or someone to get your mind off of it. Yeah, like a phone call, FaceTime, something like that. It's really important right now.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we don't have the same connection or opportunities for connection as we once did, right? So we sometimes, especially during this time, we might have to try a little bit harder to find those places, okay, where we can be uplifted and be encouraged. A great place is, going and participating in programs like you guys have your reading clubs and things like that, and workshops like this. These are all really great ways to also encourage and motivate you to job search, or do whatever it is that whatever your goals are, to achieve those things and work towards them.
I love that. Attend library programs.
There
Exactly.
we
It's a
go. Yes.
great uplifting thing to do.
Yes. So the next piece here, and I think this is a really important part of this particular workshop, is that we're going to be focusing in and talking about some of the job search tools. What exactly do you need? Okay, I'm going to give you sort of like the Coles Notes version here, but these are really the most important pieces. Okay, and so job search tools are really any method that are going to help you find jobs effectively and efficiently. So they can range from things like your job search and maybe job advice websites, to organizations like the Brampton Public Library or Job Skills, or maybe going onto a digital forum, or different. They're just a variety of different job search tools that can really help you identify unique job opportunities through tailored searches, which are going to, of course, save you time and energy. Okay. So I can assure you that the information I'm going to give you is going to save you a lot of time, okay, immensely, and really help you hone in on what it is that you need. Okay. Those key points and the essentials, okay, when it comes to these job search tools. So we're going to take a look here at resumes. Okay, so first off, we know what is a resume. Thoughts on that? Be interested again if you want to participate. If you're watching us live, feel free to chime in. Okay, what is a resume? Okay, well, the key thing about a resume is that it's meant to emphasize your knowledge, your skills, and abilities. Okay, matching those to obviously the qualifications and the requirements of the job, okay, that you're interested in. So it needs to sell you in a very short period of time. On average, employers look at your resume for how long do you think? Okay. How long do you think an employer takes to look at your resume? Just throw out a number there. I've heard some people say 30 seconds, a minute, 5 seconds.
I'm going to say, like, yeah, I would say it's less than 5 minutes.
Way less than 5 minutes. Yeah. And you'd be surprised. On average, it's about 7 seconds.
Whoa,
Yeah.
that's so surprising.
And again, that is the initial recruitment piece. Okay. So that's like the first glance. It's 7 to 10 seconds, okay, that they're staring at it. And they're really honing in on specific information. Okay. So all the more reason to make sure that our resumes are tailored, okay, and that we're demonstrating the appropriate skills to fill this position. Right. We also want to make sure that they have an impact. Okay. And the impact can come from your use of words, from your accomplishment statements, how you're speaking to your experience. And it should only cover recent years of experience. Okay. So for some of us, if we're new to the working world, we may not have as much experience, and that's totally fine. We're going to talk about a resume that's going to really be most beneficial to you if you have a limited amount of experience. Okay. But if you're a little bit more experienced and seasoned as an employee, you're only going to go back 10 years. Okay. When it comes to your resume and your work experience, only highlight the last 10 years of work. What do you do with the stuff beforehand? Okay. Well, I mean, you can have it on your LinkedIn profile and have that linked and connected through your contact information on your resume. I think that would probably be the best way. That's usually what I suggest and what I do as well personally. Have that link to my LinkedIn profile, so then the employer can go and search on in their second glance and learn a little bit more about me and my varied experience. So how do we develop here? Okay, well, first we want to identify a job, okay, that we're interested in. Okay, and so you can do things like do a bit of research on a variety of different job boards, okay, like Wow Jobs or Indeed.ca. You can also do a bit of research about labor market trends on the National Occupation Classification System. And then from there, what you're going to do is you're going to analyze the job postings for specific skills and abilities that you have. Okay. And so what I like to do with the job posting is take a highlighter, and I'm going through that job posting with a highlighter. Okay. Obviously, if we're using a computer, what you could do is copy and paste the job posting onto a Word document and then just highlight those key skills that you have that match the job posting. Okay. From there, I'm going to create a list of my own accomplishments. Okay. If you're not sure about what your accomplishments are, we actually at Job Skills have a workshop that speaks to this. It's called Identify Skills to Pay the Bills. Okay. And basically it helps us to identify the key skills, what we're bringing to the organization, and how to put those into statements, accomplishment statements that can then, highlight our skills more effectively on a resume, as well as other branding material. Okay. You also want to choose a format that's best for you. So today I'm going to be talking mostly about functional resumes. Okay. Just because they're a little bit better designed for students and young people, those who are, maybe getting their first job or perhaps have little work experience. Okay. And so we're going to be talking about that one today, but there are also two other main styles of resumes that we can, get you more information about: chronological resumes, as well as a combination resume. And again, we have a workshop for that called Resume Renovation. From there, we want to obviously learn how to write those descriptive phrases. Okay, so those accomplishment statements really need to have bang for their buck. Okay, and we want to, make sure that they're really, really strong and highlighting all of the key skills that we want the employers to know about. So generally, when we're talking about resumes, there are certain sections that apply to all three styles. Okay, so we of course need headings. Okay, the heading piece has all of your contact information, and I'll show you some samples in the coming slides here of what that's going to look like exactly. But having your name, your phone number, email address are sort of those key pieces. There's some conversation around whether to include your mailing address. I think it's a good idea. Other people may say, oh, leave it out. It's really up to you. There are some options. Okay, when it does come to resumes, there's some flexibility, but these are sort of the key components that you need to have, okay, across all of the resume styles. So after the heading and the contact information, you're going to have an objective statement, or sometimes alternatively, you can utilize a profile or summary of your qualifications. Okay, the summary of your qualifications is going to be a little bit longer. Okay, so it's more of a paragraph, 3 to 5 accomplishment statements, which really describe your key skills that obviously match that what's listed on the job posting. But from there, you can go into a little bit more depth as to like your expertise and maybe some of those areas in which you're a subject matter expert. Okay. And even if you've only, if you volunteered, that is still some really amazing experience that you can highlight in the summary of qualification section. But you can also use just a simple objective statement, which is probably what we've seen, okay, more commonly used around, perhaps you're going to put in, I'm looking for a full-time landscaping opportunity to apply my, my knowledge of perennials. Okay, something like that. You really, again, you want to gear the objective to the role that you're applying to. Okay. From there, after we've done the objective and the summary piece, we want to obviously get into the work experience. So these are potential headings that you can have for the work experience piece. You could have your professional experience, or work experience, or employment history. For me, I have my, I think it's employment history on my resume, which again outlines all of the last 10 years of my work experience. And I'm within each job opportunity, I'm highlighting the things that I accomplished. I'm not just speaking to the tasks and the duties that I did on a day-to-day. Okay, so there is a difference. The accomplishment is you're describing a situation, you're describing what you did, okay, the situation, the task, then you're describing the action, and then you want to also include the end result. Okay, so how did your work benefit the organization? Okay, that's the biggest part that often gets missed when it comes to these accomplishment statements. We often don't tie in that R piece of the results. Okay, so if you were to look at your resume right now, what you currently have, it might just be that you need to add in the results to those accomplishment statements that you already have. Okay. From the work experience employment history piece, the next heading would be education and training. Some people also like to include professional development as well. So any courses that you've taken along the way, you know, maybe you've done a first aid course, or maybe when you were younger, you did a babysitting course. I don't know. Like, I'm just trying to think about young people and what they might participate in. As adults, you know, there might be maybe a WMIS training. So workplace hazardous materials information systems training, something of that nature that you might want to include when it comes to education and training. This is an interesting area. Obviously, for young people, you may only have high school, okay, or maybe you have your elementary school. You know, those are things that you still would want to include, okay, and perhaps highlight clubs and groups that you were a part of during that time in this section, okay. So now we're going to do a deeper dive into the functional resume style. Okay, I'm going to tell you a little bit about some of the pros and cons of this particular resume style and why I think it's the best one for you all, and why I wanted to share this with you. Okay, so the functional resume is sometimes called a skills-based resume. Okay, and as we can tell in the name, if you think about skills-based, okay, that sort of tells you the key information and the composition of this particular document. Okay, it's really very much skills focused. Okay, it's going to emphasize relevant skills, abilities, your competencies, rather than specific dates. Okay, so this is good again for young people. Maybe you've just volunteered, maybe you've been involved in a lot of things in your school, high school, university, college, and you obviously want to demonstrate those, but they wouldn't necessarily fall under employment history. And so in this particular style, what's nice is, as you can see on this example, is that it has a relevant skills and experience section. And in that section, you're going to choose the top 3 skills. And what I like to do with those skills that I identified to highlight, I actually pull them from the job posting. Okay, so I go back to that job posting on my analysis where I've highlighted all the skills. From there, I'm going to look at that and say, hey, you know what? They've talked about having great communication skills for this role a few times. You know, something tells me that this is probably a key skill to highlight. Okay. So that being said, I would then go into the relevant skills section, and I would want to highlight communication skills. Okay. So here they have counseling skills, interviewing needs assessment, administration skills. Okay. As an example, but, you know, for someone young, you could talk about, you know, your planning and organizing skills if you were in student council or in a band, or, you know, maybe your time management skills when it comes to assignment and group work, and even some of those clubs. You know, there are a variety of different skills that you have that you may not be aware of. Okay. And so it's really important that you do take the time to understand yourself and do a bit of like self-exploration. There's some really great tools online that I can actually send to Megan, and she can share this with everybody afterwards, just to help you do a bit of that self-assessment, okay, and understand where your starting point is. Okay, what's really good functional resume is that it demonstrates that you're qualified for the job based on your past experience and accomplishments. And this is what we want to do, right? We want to show employers, you know, who we are, what we're about. Okay, and so this style really does that. Okay, and as you can see, it has those key elements that we were looking at earlier, the anatomy of the resume. So you can see the contact information there at the top. You can see that profile piece, and then underneath there's a summary of qualifications. Okay, and then you also have your relevant skills and experience. In this particular example, that would be similar to I guess some of that work experience piece. Okay. And then you have the employment history there at the bottom. And as you can see, there's a difference here. It doesn't go into like a chronological resume under the employment history would go into a lot more detail with each specific role. Whereas on this styled resume, you're just listing your job title, the organization you worked for, and then the years that you were there. Okay. And just keep them inclusive of the years. If the job was held with, or volunteer opportunity was held within less than a year, you would just put the months then. Okay. So like, January 2021 to May 2021, something like that, for example. Okay. Education is the same. You're listing the course that you took, the school that you went to, and the year that you graduated. Okay. So I'm hoping that that was really helpful. And we're actually going to be sending out, if you're interested in getting a sample of a functional resume and a worksheet or some information on how to write an effective functional resume, Megan does have some information. So please feel free to contact the Brampton Public Library. Megan will provide that contact information for you all to stay connected and get that info to yourselves. Okay.
Yep, I've put that in the chat. So just email events@bramptonlibrary.ca to request those further resources, and we'll email them to you. I actually have a question. Can I interrupt for a second?
Yeah,
In terms of the resume, how important is it to put your address at the top? I've heard conflicting things about this.
Yeah, so it's kind of and this is where I go back to, there's some flexibility when it comes to some of these branding materials, and that's one area. Okay, so there's some school of thought that would say, don't include your mailing address because it opens you up to potential discrimination based on your geography, right? So, for example, I live in Pickering. Maybe I want to apply for a job out in Vancouver. Okay. Personally, I'm just of the mindset, I'm going to put it all out there. If they decide, that they want me, then awesome. Okay. Some though might say, well, no, I don't want them to see that I live in Ontario and that I'm applying for this job. Okay. So they would exclude it. Okay. And there's really no like right or wrong answer to that, Megan. I think it's just a personal preference, what you would prefer. Obviously, if you're putting things online onto some sort of job board, even a job bank like Indeed, you can post your resume, right? Personally, I would take out my phone number, I would take out my mailing address, and just keep my email there. Okay. For obvious reasons, because it is open to the public. Okay. So you just want to be cautious when you're looking at those virtual job boards and posting your resume on those, and what contact information is available. But in general, it's sort of you can really pick what you'd like to do. I think, again, for me, just put it all out there. Don't hide anything. If you're the right candidate, they will hire you. And that's kind of how I see it. Okay. And you wouldn't be applying to a job if you weren't willing to do the commute or travel. Right. So that's just what I think about it. Okay. And it depends who you talk to. You might hear something differently from someone else. So personal preference, really. Hope that helps.
Yeah, thanks. Fair enough.
No problem. So the next piece here is the cover letter. Okay, so this cover letter, it's the first introduction to the employer. Okay, so this is our chance to really shine, to stand out again. Oftentimes, a cover letter is the first thing that a recruiter will look at. Okay, so we want to make sure that it's really strong. It's also a great tool to demonstrate your professional business writing skills as well. So it's not just about the skills that you're presenting in the letter in and of itself, it's also your writing style. Okay, so I've heard from employers, some employers like it when candidates are really creative in their cover letter and, talk about themselves in, in slightly unconventional ways. But what I'm going to show you today is sort of the standard business letter format. Okay, so that you can obviously have like the sort of standard basic guideline, and then from there you can feel free to adapt. Although I personally wouldn't change too much to this particular style and formatting. Okay. Sometimes you will note that employers don't ask for a cover letter, okay? And some will. I always like to include a cover letter even when it's not asked. Some employers will say like straightforward and just say right off the bat, do not include a cover letter. So in those cases, you do not include one, okay? You go a lot off of what the employer is asking you for, take direction from them. But if they don't say anything about the cover letter, generally you would include a cover letter, okay? Cover letters, they're again, there's this conversation around, are they necessary? Are they important? Yes, they are still very much a tool that is used to support your job application. So it is something that is expected by most recruiters. Okay, so you need to have one, and you want to make sure that it's highlighting you to the best of your ability. So most cover letters have this standard format. Okay, so of course you'll have for anyone who's ever written a business letter, maybe in school you had to write something. I remember in I think elementary school and even high school we had to practice like writing professional business letters. I don't even remember for what course, but it was along a similar format as this. Okay, so we always have our opening paragraph, okay, which is basically explaining why you're writing. Okay, and this is kind of nice. It's pretty straightforward. You're just saying, introducing yourself. You're telling them how you heard about the job opportunity, where you found the job posting is really important to mention. They want to know that because they obviously employers want to know what promotion tools are working for them. Okay, so make sure that you tell them where you found the job posting, whether it's on a job board or in a newspaper or through a friend, something like that. Then you want to explain a little bit about yourself and your skills, okay, in the body of the letter. So this can be 1 or 2 paragraphs. Generally, 1 paragraph will do, okay, will suffice. I find that maybe 2 paragraphs if you have a little bit more work experience, but generally 1 paragraph is pretty sort of standard, expected. Okay, and then here you're going to be talking about all of the great, amazing attributes that you're bringing to the table, what you can do for the organization, all the skills, training, just giving the employer a bit of insight about who you are and what your character's like and what they can expect from you when you come on board. Okay. You do not this is not a time to be modest either. Okay, sometimes we get uncomfortable talking about ourselves and how great we are. This is the time to again shine. Okay, own it, be proud of your accomplishments, and really share those with the employer. Okay, show them that you're suitable, so show them that you're enthusiastic about the role that's being offered, and you have to sell yourself. Okay. The last piece here, of course, is the closing paragraph. Okay, so this really is meant to sort of pave the way for an interview by stating to the employer that you are available for an interview at their convenience. Okay, you of course want to include your cell phone number, okay, or an email address, any of your contact information that I mean, they'll have it already at the top of the letter, but it's good to just reemphasize that. You want to thank the employer for their time and for their consideration of your application, and then of course like sign your letter. Okay, so obviously if we're not meeting in person, or we're probably not doing a lot of walk-ins right now. That's an assumption I'm making, but perhaps you are. If you're doing everything virtually, just have like an electronic signature. That will work just as fine. Okay, and employers are sort of expecting that as the norm these days, so no worries there. So sometimes when we're creating this cover letter or even a resume, it's often in response to an advertisement, right? So we see a job posting, okay, that's really exciting to us. And then what do we do from there? Okay, well, the first thing here is that we want to mention where we saw the advertisement. Okay, as I said before, employers and companies want to know where their promotion dollars are, best spent. Okay, and this really does help them to identify that. The letter also needs to respond specifically to what the employer wants. Use words and phrases from the advertisement. Okay, so it is not plagiarism to use team player. Okay, if it's in the job posting, use that in your resume. Okay. Extract some of those key skills that you highlighted when you're going through the job posting and make sure that they show up in your resume and show up in your cover letter. Okay. This is how we are beginning that tailoring process. Okay. Every resume and every cover letter that you create needs to be tailored and targeted to the job that you're applying for. So you really want to make sure that you're matching your skills and experience with what it is that the employer wants and needs. Okay. How do we know what the employer wants? They've said it in the job posting. Okay. They've told you exactly what it is that they need. You're not expected to have 100% of all of those things, but I'd say if you have about between 70 and 80% of the skills and experience that the employer is looking for, I'd say go right ahead and apply. Okay. If it's anything less than that, you might want to look at upskilling. Okay. So developing some of your skills to grow, maybe take a class, take a course that you can sort of develop and grow in that area and then apply. Okay. Don't waste your time on opportunities that you're not experienced or qualified to do. Okay. I remember I used to do that as a young person thinking, oh yeah, I could be a manager. And looking back and like, oh my gosh, what was I thinking? There's no way that I could have done those roles in that time and space. Right. So that's a really important one. Match your skills and experience with the employer's needs. If there's a specific skill listed as an asset, but you don't possess it, don't stress too much. You should still apply. Okay. So what I mean by that, okay. So I know I just said, like, if you don't have 70%, then don't apply. Okay. But if it's something, say, because I often see opportunities where they say, a master's degree would be an asset. Okay. Or a college degree, university degree versus a college diploma would be an asset. Okay. But you don't have it, I would say still apply. Okay. There might be an opportunity for you there. Okay. So don't count yourself out when it comes to some of those pieces, but I would only still apply if I had the majority of all the other things that they were looking for. Okay. And make sure that you always close your letter with that call to action. I'm really looking forward to talking to you. This is how you can connect with me. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much for your time. Okay. So making sure that you're kind of putting that follow-up piece in, letting them know how they can connect with you. Okay. I'm going to just look at a potential advertisement here, okay, for Amy's Boutique, okay, and they're looking for a sales clerk. It's an exciting opportunity, and they've highlighted all of the things that they're looking for. Someone with customer service experience, someone who's worked in retail, team player, flexible shifts. Okay, it talks a little bit about the wages, bonus, opportunities for advancement, and then it tells you how to apply. Okay, so it's asking for a resume and cover letter. So we want to make sure that we send that to Amy's Boutique, at Market Mall, Unit 35, between those hours as well, Monday to Friday. Okay. If you send it on a Saturday, guess what they're going to do? They're probably going to throw it out right off the bat. Okay. Why? Because you didn't follow the instructions. Okay. So that is one way that employers use to filter out people, especially if they have a lot of candidates. If you don't follow the instructions of the application process, right away it goes into the toss pile. Okay. So just make sure that you do pay attention to those things. Okay. So anyways, we have this awesome job opportunity at Amy's Boutique. Let's see the cover letter that we could use, okay, to respond to this. Okay. So as you can see, it has Sarah's contact information at the top, has the dates that she's applying. It also has all of the information about Amy's Boutique and who she's connecting with. Okay, so Susan Smith, who's the manager. Fantastic. And then this is where we get into that first paragraph. So Amy's Boutique has a strong reputation for providing quality customer service in retail women's fashion. I'm a frequent customer of Amy's Boutique and was very excited to see the job advertisement in the newspaper on March 4th, 2021. I believe that my customer service skills, along with my keen eye for fashion, would make me an excellent addition to your team as a sales clerk. Okay, so they've identified obviously the job that they're applying, where they saw it, what date and time, and then also highlighting a few additional skills that the employer will read and see and be like, oh yeah, this is great. And these were all things that were identified in the job advertisement. If you recall, customer service experience, obviously retail experience, keen eye for fashion, as well as being a team player. Okay. And then in that second paragraph, so here they have the body of they have it in bullet points, and that's perfectly fine to use if you're more comfortable with that, especially if you're starting out and this is maybe your first role, and you know you're young and new to the labor market. This is totally acceptable. Obviously, as you grow and develop more skills, you're going to want to put that into more of a paragraph format. Okay, but for for what we're learning about today, that would be fine to have those bullet points. And again, you're tying in what they're looking for with the skills that you have. And then the last piece, the last paragraph, the closing paragraph is really where that call to action is, right? Saying, I'd love to meet with you. This is how you can reach me. And I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. And then you're signing off, best regards, with your first and last name. Okay. So this is a really great cover letter example, okay, of what we're looking for when it comes to responding to an advertisement. Okay, you're going to have this as well as your resume. The next piece here is something called the elevator pitch. The elevator pitch is a really, really important part of your job search tools, in that it summarizes who you are, what you do, and why you'd be the perfect candidate. So I'm going to just show you a little video here that speaks to this. It gives us a little bit of a sense of what a good elevator pitch might look like.
The elevator pitch is your first step towards becoming a networking god. Hey, Mr. CEO, good to see you, buddy. Good to see you.
Ruben, right?
Yes.
Oh, I've heard a lot of good things about you.
Nice.
So,
nice.
What is it that you do then exactly?
Well, I like merge all my talents together and just give it out to the world, like all my stuff inside me. It's like a mixture of stuff. Like, I'm a creative guy, people's person, obviously. I write a bit of comedy, I present, I get up stage, talk to people, and I just know together all my creative ideas and my whole team. That's not an elevator pitch. That's the ramblings of an unprepared bitch. An elevator pitch is a sentence that sums up what you do so concisely that you can tell it in a space of your average elevator ride. If you were to write it down, it'd be about 140 characters, which is about a tweet. So, let's try that again, shall we? Hey, Mr. CEO, good to see you, sir. Good to see you.
Hi, Ruben, right?
Yes, yeah.
Oh, I've heard a lot of good things about you.
Okay, nice.
So, what is it you do then, actually?
I'm a presenter and a comic. I host live events and I make online comedy videos. And I'm also co-founder of individualism.co.uk, which is the UK's leading men's style blog.
Oh, excellent. We've got a few events coming up and we could do with your services. Have you got a card, haven't you?
I do. Yes, I do. There you go.
I'll be in touch.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a nice day, mate. See? Preparation, it got me some potential work with the CEO of this whole company. Yeah.
Did you say a men's styling blog?
Okay, so that was a really great example. We saw how Ruben sort of blundered at the start, but then he made it up afterwards, right? By having a little bit of a blurb prepared about yourself. It really helps you to walk into situations like that, into an elevator, for example, and speak to your key skills. Okay, so the elevator pitch is really something that is prepared to grab your audience attention. So in this case, the employer, but if you're at a networking event, or even say you're at a soccer team practice, okay, you can also network there. So talking to the coach, talking to your other team members, things like that. Okay, it's a tool that you can use at networking events. Okay, the core message is meant to say a lot about you, who you are, what it is that you do, and it's meant to also give the listener some information about who you are, and they're going to hopefully be interested more in what you're saying. Okay, your goal is to make them say, "Tell me more." So where and when, events, conferences, conventions, job fairs, these are all great places to utilize this particular tool. I would suggest using it in your job interview when you're asked, tell me about yourself. This is the best time to use your elevator pitch, okay? So what do you need to know? How do you develop your elevator pitch? First, you want to determine what the elements are. Okay, so you want to figure out what are your key skills. What is it that you're going to speak to? Determine if you have a niche market. Okay, maybe you're really maybe you're really good at building things. Okay, and maybe building robots or something like that. Okay, so then of course you want to talk a little bit more about that particular niche market. Okay, you also want to think about what are the problems that you can solve. Okay, and speak to it in your elevator pitch. It's important to remember that people listening to your speech will have their antennae tuned to what's in it for me. Okay? They want to understand what can you do for them, and focus your message on their needs. Okay, not what it is that what makes you so great and awesome. I mean, that's part of it, but then you also want to tap into what it is that they may want from you. Okay, what is it that makes you unique? Okay. Do not use a ton of words. Again, this is only meant to be 30 seconds long, so be mindful of the timing. Don't use a lot of acronyms, okay? So like short words, short forms like TTYL, things like that. Okay, try not to rush, speak slowly, and also try to make a presentation that sounds, don't make it sound like an infomercial, okay? About, Deanna 101, you don't want it to sound like kitschy, and instead just have it being really natural. Okay, so it does help to practice a little bit. What you want to do here to practice and make sure it doesn't sound like robotic, you want to re-rate your speech in order to sharpen its focus. Really speak confidently and enthusiastically. Practice, practice, practice. Okay, so find some friends, family members, practice your elevator pitch until you feel most comfortable with it, till you can remember it. It's not about memorizing it and and repeating. You want it to sound natural. Okay, and so you really want to get to a place, practice it so much so that you feel completely comfortable with it. You can tap into it like the back of your hand. Okay, just noticing the time here, so I just want to make sure that I can get through a few more slides, and then we'll go from there. So I just am interested in hearing, as we take the elevator pitch, one of the main uses, as I mentioned earlier, is that networking piece. So I'm just interested in hearing about, like, how did you find your last job? If you want to enter that into the chat, okay, or comment below, you can choose any one of these options. For me, I've found some great opportunities through networking. Okay, and networking is really about building relationships. Okay, and it's something that you actually do quite naturally, maybe without even realizing it. Okay, so the reason we do network is because we're trying to tap into the hidden job market. Okay, and the hidden job market is really about 80% of jobs that are out there that are never known to the public. Okay, they're not advertised. So they're either in the hearts and minds of recruiters, okay, and so you don't necessarily find out about them through a job board. Okay, oftentimes it's through word of mouth, through your network of contacts, maybe previous employees, maybe friends, maybe family members. Okay, you're asking them, hey, do you know anyone who's looking to hire? Okay, so this is what we're talking about when it's the hidden job market. You're tapping into those sort of unexpected places to see if a contact can be made. You want to just going back to the 80-20 rule. Okay, so if you are currently spending 80% of your time doing job search activities and only 20% networking, you want to try and switch that around. Okay, so start spending 80% of your time networking. Okay, so reaching out to people virtually, going to meetups, virtual meetups, things like that. Okay, so we're using the tools that we have available to us. So obviously we're using a lot of virtual conferencing tools for events and things like that. So utilize those opportunities to make those connections, and but do that 80%, and you will notice a huge change in results. Okay, you'll start to see calls coming in. You'll start to see more. Again, you're putting more of that strategy into play when it comes to your job searching activities. Okay, but as I was saying earlier, networking is something that you do naturally. Okay, you might be concerned when that word comes up. You're like, oh, I don't know. That's pretty cool. We do it all the time. It's something to remember and just be relaxed with. Okay, it's really just about making, establishing relationships with people, gathering names and contacts of people that are going to be helpful to your job search activities. Okay, so having a strategy in place. If you want to work at Walmart, okay, you want to target a Walmart, okay, and try and find out the people that are in the decision-making spaces there. Maybe try to reach out to the manager and set up an informational interview, have a conversation with them, things like that. Okay, so it really needs to be systematic and strategic. Okay, but it can also be a lot of fun. So, you just want to make it work for you. Okay. Another tool for networking is also to start calling organizations. If you're interested in working at a company, call them. I remember I wanted to work for this organization in high school. It was called Outward Bound, and I really wanted to work at like one of their summer programs. And so obviously I was looking on their website for job postings, but I just actually gave them a call and started to have a conversation, and it kind of worked out because they gave me a bit of a heads up as to when the job postings would come out. And because I had already made a contact there, I mentioned it in the cover letter, right? Saying, oh yeah, I actually called a few weeks ago and spoke to, ABC. And we had a really great conversation about what it is that Outward Bound does. Okay. And I actually ended up getting the opportunity to work there. So, networking, what it does is it shows the organization who you are and what you're about. Okay. You can make some really great connections that way. The last piece that I want to talk about here is interviewing. Okay, so obviously now we're in a very virtual world. Okay, so video conferencing is a tool that is being used more often than not for interviews. Okay, what's cool about it is that it combines technology with obviously the importance of job interviews. You can do a great job interview from the comfort of your own home. And it has a similar flow to an in-person interview, especially when it comes to some of the things that you want to keep in mind, okay? So some tips to prepare for your interviews. Practice, 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 okay? So you want to take some time to prepare your responses, have a friend, have a family member to kind of go over them, some potential answers with you, and have a deeper discussion, really iron out some of the areas that you can, do a bit better on, or maybe improve your responses versus some that you're doing already really, really well. Okay. So by practicing a little bit, it's going to help you. And again, I know that we're over time. I'm hoping it'll be done in 10 minutes. Is that okay, Megan?
Yeah, no problem.
Okay. Sorry about that. Some tips. The next tip here is to be punctual. Okay. So similar to an in-person interview, you have to be on time. Okay. So by on time, you mean 10 minutes ahead of time. Okay. So if your interview is at 10 o'clock, log on to the meeting at 9:50, 9:50. Okay. So that you're there, you're ready to go when they are. Okay. Prepare your technology. So ahead of time, before you even have your job interview, it's really important that you know how to use the conferencing tool, your internet or your computer is working well. Okay, you're not having any glitches or issues. Your computer has the appropriate software, et cetera, et cetera. Hey, you're just really making sure that all of your I's are dotted and your T's are crossed. Okay, when it comes to technology. Okay, that you're ready to go. You know how to use the tool. You also want to find a nice quiet space. So preparing your environment ahead of time. So if you have a office space, awesome. If not, just try and find a quiet space away from other people in your family. Let them know as well that you're having a job interview, and that will probably help them to be mindful of their noise level. Okay, and so just making sure that it's well lit, okay, has a neutral background, and that it's in a quiet space. Speak slowly. This is something I struggle with. Hey, take a deep breath, just relax, speak slowly, enunciate, be clear with your words. Okay, just to ensure that the understanding is there. If an employer doesn't understand or, needs you to clarify, they will of course ask you that. But one thing that you can do to support their understanding is to speak slowly, clearly, and concisely. Listen carefully and stay focused. Okay, so this is a really easy one to sort of veer off a little bit when you are doing a virtual interview, because the person is not directly there in front of you. Sometimes we can kind of zone out a little bit. Okay, but just remember that they can still see you. Okay, and how do we show someone that we're listening carefully, okay, or that we're focused? You know, we still want to make eye contact. We want to nod when they're speaking. Okay, we want to show them some of those body language and nonverbal cues that we would do normally in an in-person interview as well. Okay, so nodding, making eye contact, saying, interesting. You know, some of those prompts that kind of come out naturally that to show them that you're actively listening. And then also asking questions too that are thoughtful and based off of what they were saying, especially if you need more clarification. Okay, so as I mentioned too, the body language piece is obviously observing some of those nonverbal cues. So eye contact, smiling, you know, tilting your head, nodding, things like that. But also just being mindful too of some things that might be distracting when it comes to body language. Okay, so I like to use my hands a lot when I speak. If you could see me now, you'd see that I'd be moving all over the place. Okay, and that's something that obviously in a job interview I want to curb. Okay, I do not want to do those things. So I've heard of people, you know, like clasping their hands really tightly in front of them, you know, locking their fingers, sitting on their hands. You know, for me, I like to just put them on my lap, and that tends to do the trick. Some people like to have a pen in their hand if they're fidgety. Okay, so there are lots of ways to get around some of those maybe more distracting body language pieces, but just understanding that it does play a part in how the employer will see you, okay, and what they might think of you. Another piece to is to know how to dress appropriately. So we're showing you the smart casual look. Okay, this is sort of the bare minimum when it comes to dressing for a job interview. As you can see, you know, there's a button-up shirt, dress shoes, you know, sort of like a khaki type pant or dress pants and a dress blouse. You know, no crazy accessories on the women or men. Okay, there's a watch that's pretty standard. We don't want to be too flashy when it comes to our makeup or nail polish, or even bracelets, things like that. You know, if you're married, yeah, wedding ring's fine. Or if you have any other jewelry that you like to wear normally, you know, try to scale it back to maybe one piece versus, you know, 3 or 4. Okay. And keep the colors neutral. We don't want to be wearing flashy colors when it comes to the clothing, because then it's just a bit distracting. So it takes away from what you're actually saying. And we really want the focus to be on you, okay, for the duration of the interview. Also, going back to the technology piece, making sure the audio works. Okay, so if you have earbuds that you like to use, and making sure that they're functioning properly before your actual interview. So that's it for the actual content of today's workshop. And thank you so much for staying a bit longer. Here are some additional resources that, again, I can share these with you, Megan. And you can, if you'd like, if anyone's interested, we can get this information to you. There are a lot of great resources online, so it's just a matter of Google searching. If you're looking for, you know, more information on job interviews, you know, do a Google search. Go on YouTube. There's lots of really cool videos that have some great examples of appropriate ways to answer job interview questions. So check it out. Do some exploring and have some fun with it too. It can be really fun to job search, okay, if you make it. The last piece here, of course, is, you know, if you are interested in getting some support with your job search activities, we are here to help you. Job Skills has employment consultants on standby to support you with all of your job search needs. You can give us a call at 1-866-592-6278 or send us an email, info@jobskills.org, or you can just check out our website. On our website, you'll also find a calendar of events for all of our workshops and special events that are coming up, as well as some of our programs and services. We do also have social media. So I think we have all the major ones. Yep, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and I think those are the major ones. So we have all of those things. And also, if you're new to Canada and you'd like maybe some more specialized settlement support, You can connect with someone at our Welcome Center. The number there is 1-877-761-1155, info@welcomecenter.ca. And or you can go right to our website. Again, check out the calendar of events there, www.welcomecenter.ca. And we are also connected via social media through our Welcome Center Immigrant Services Network. Just want to take a final minute here just to thank you all so much for joining me today. And I hope that this information was helpful to you, and that you will benefit from this information and be able to apply it in your own job search. And all the best.
Thank you so much, Gianna. To those of you again on Facebook Live who are viewing this, if you would like a copy of the resources that Deanna shared, please just email events@bramptonlibrary.ca and we'll be happy to send those out. And yes, we hope that you'll join us next time. That is going to be in June, in a few weeks. Again, Parks Canada will be hosting the next Adulting 101 series. That's how to camp like a pro with Parks Canada Learn to Camp. So you can just go to our website calendar at bramptonlibrary.ca to register for that. Thanks very much. Have a great day, everyone.
Thanks. Take care.